Recording in progress.
Let's see if we can do this.
It's okay. That's the last thing I'm gonna see.
Bam. Is it live? Trying to get the
Recording
chat
in
popped
progress.
out too. We can do this. What's going on, boys?
It's okay. That's
Ladies
the
and
last-
gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the stream. It's Blind Run with Son of a Tech. Once again, we are going to be bringing in a group of people to basically go over the Chia Roundtable here, and it's going to be Seth Estrada from Mind Your Biz, Yashnik from AeonPool.tech, Crypto Mikkel, Mr. Serpent, and myself. So we're just going to hop into it, and I'm going to bring them up right now. People to basically go over. Oh no! Chia Roundtable here. Let me mute myself. That would be good. Mute. So what's going on, guys? Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for everybody for getting on
Indeed,
here. I know nothing about Chia, so I'm here for educational and learning purposes.
Well, that's the
So I
purpose.
may have really dumb questions at some point, for all I know.
Oh, hey, take it from a pro. Dumb questions are the best questions.
It's true.
That's all I have are dumb questions.
Is there? Hold on. They're saying there's still an echo. Is there? It should be gone now. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's fixed. Good to go. So first things first that I wanted to get into. Is everybody good? Vega, you got your stuff going? Cool.
Yes, sir.
You're recording, Mr. Mikkel. You got everybody's
sir.
got what they want. Cool. All right. So
Yes, sir.
first things first that I wanted to get into today is I posted a video this morning on a guide for chia-core.com, which is a new, I guess, not unofficial pool. So it's not, it's not the official pool protocol from Bram, nothing like that. The uniqueness to it, as far as from HPool, is you are not inputting your private key into an application to generate a key or a registered key to put into the pool software. So in theory, it's safer. We are getting some comments, though, that people are worried about keyloggers and backdoors and all this sort of stuff. And because it has access to the .chia folder, people were worried that it has access to your keys. Now, in theory, there's nothing from stopping it from actually accessing your keys. That being said, I've been running a process monitor for the whole morning, as well as is it Yashnik? Is that correct? Pronounced correctly? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, you're muted, bud. And
bad.
so he's been running one as well. All I've seen is it reading the config file, which makes sense because it is gathering all of its information through the wallet. And then as far as being able to vet any sort of keyloggers, I'm not seeing anything. I haven't been able to get any verified proof of the people there from the people that are making these accusations. So I don't know where we're at as far as that goes. I think it still comes down to the same problem you have in crypto regardless, though, because these files are not registered, and because you're downloading them onto a PC, they're going to get flagged, and because you have to release them, they could have anything in there, right? Any sort of viruses, whatever. So I'll just have to restate once again, don't load it onto a PC where you have any personal or financial information on outside of the Chia information if you're going to use it. But that pretty much, from my perspective, goes across all mining and farming software, period.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
that's where I'm
Something
at
more
with
strongly.
it right now. Yashnik, you said you saw it writing to logs. Do you have it pulled up right now? I could probably try to switch over.
I misunderstood you earlier. I'm just talking about Chia itself.
Oh, okay. So
The
we're
protocol,
talking
yeah.
about the Chia-Core application that's used to farm to the chia-core.com farming pool for Chia.
Right.
Yeah, and that's under C users, your computer username under a folder called .chia.
Well,
mainnet, and log. That
so
one.
no, so that folder is the folder you target within the Chia Core application when you're configuring the farmer. And the question is because it has access to that. Well, the first question is it accessing your private keys? The answer to that is the Chia-core executable is not. The process monitor is not showing that it's accessing anything but the config file. That being said, the second set of concerns that came out that I'm aware of that I'm still researching and have no proof of at this point. I'm on Discord with the devs right before this call as well, was that somebody had found a keylogger in it. And one accusation was that they found remote software application in there. I have not found either one of those. But once again, I'm not a programmer. I'm just, an old cloud solution specialist. So I've dealt with remote software and stuff, and I can usually detect that. I haven't seen anything, but I am digging. So just be cautious.
I haven't seen Bits be tripping get involved in Chia, but it would be nice to have his eyes on a couple of things.
I can say, just based on the response from Bits over on Twitter, I think he's interested in what's happening here. And Son of a Tech, I think largely some of your content where you're doing a bit of a deeper dive, you're reaching out directly with the leadership team, having those conversations directly with Bram, as opposed to indirectly having him comment on my media. I think that he's trying to pay as close attention as he can to that sort of quasi-official line of like, hey, people who are building this stuff, as opposed to people who are just kind of looking with that high degree of skepticism, really trying to figure out what are the genuine risks, like you're saying before, what's being read from the system where you're mining versus what could be written, maybe where it's phoning home, right? Packet sniffing, whatever else, trying to inspect really what these things are doing and know if there is genuine surface to be worried about threat vectors, like attack surface to be worried about threat vectors from this new coin, let alone the tokenomics and the rewards and the pooling issues, all the other stuff that goes into evaluating a new project. It's classic Bits, right? He's very happy in his lane, and I don't think he's seen the incentive to really switch largely. I think if I can, I'm not going to speak for him, but if I had to guess, I think he's a lot more happy right now trying to figure out, like, is it going to be worth my time mining Raven coin 6 months from now, as opposed to really anything else.
Right. Well, Bits right now has to really focus down on making his farm survive, which also is why I'm only doing one video as opposed to 2 videos a day right now too, because that's what I'm working on as we shift into a whole place. But that aside, like, I guess from that point of view, I'm going to leave it. I just wanted to make sure that we went over it, unless you guys have more thoughts on specifically, I guess it's core pool now because Chia has a trademark issue, which I guess we could segue into their trademark issue if you guys want to.
Let's go there, please.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
It piqued my interest. Like, what? A trademark issue?
You guys
Yeah,
haven't
start
heard this
here.
yet?
No.
I have not. No.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, son.
Chia.
Oh, there's a trademark issue with Chia.
Yeah.
I was going to let Seth go because he's the
Go.
detractor here.
Bad news, Bear. Here for your 1:08 p.m. afternoon news report. 3:08 if you're on the Eastern Standard Time. Here's your bad news report for Chia. Yeah, I mean, and Son of a Tech saw me. He caught me kind of like, I'll admit it. So I am throwing a little bit too much shade sometimes, but he caught me on Twitter retweeting something that is kind of bad press. It's a bad look for Chia. Somebody registered the domain name. I think it's called thechiaplot.com. And yeah, the Chia team or the corporation behind the Chia project went after them for a trademark violation. It's just such a bad look. So it's like, okay, guys, you did an over $60 million VC raise. You also pre-mined, the vast majority of the coins. How did you not have the financials to solve some of these problems before they came up? Like, don't worry about domain squatters. Just go friggin' buy up all the domains that have what you want, right? Your keywords, the Chia plot, the chiaplot.com, Chia plotting, Chia plotters, plotters for Chia, whatever it is, guys. They're cheap if you get there first. So I don't know how the Chia team managed to raise so many millions of dollars and not think some of this stuff through, especially with that traditional VC mindset, traditional tech startup mindset, where it's like, okay, like half of your first considerations are, can we create a big enough differentiator between ourselves and other projects? And they clearly did it from not just a technological standpoint in the blockchain space, but also from a business standpoint. So I'm a little bit surprised, frankly.
Yeah.
I was just tickled by it.
And there's an article on CoinDesk about this, by the way, citing some of the letter and quotes that are in it. But as a business and somebody that's been in the website industry, if you're going to create a brand around something, first off, you chose chia. And I'm pretty sure that people in our age group, when we hear chia, we're thinking of the actual plant or chia, whatever product that came out back in the day. But then you also want to make sure that you're getting your websites and anything that, like Google and GoDaddy had an issue where GoDaddySucks.com was registered and they had to buy it from the person who registered that. So they should have went and actually got the domains similar to their branding to prevent other users from getting taking advantage of it. Now, they did mention in a dev meeting on launch day for when the exchange went live, saying that they would prefer that the pool operators not use a name with the word chia in it. But there's a number of pools on miningpoolstats.stream that already have the name chia in it. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out in their interest, but they're fighting an uphill battle with this one.
Well, the one live right
It's
now.
affinity branding, guys. Look at Ethermine. Look at Ether.
I mean, like, why wouldn't you though? Like, why?
Aeon Pool.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
aeonpool.tech. I mean, Ethermine.
That makes no sense.
And Ethermine's not even like Ethermine, really. It's Bitfly, and their pool for ETH is called Ethermine.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of pools are like that. So why would you not allow people
Chia Garden.
to use? I mean, it would. That makes no sense.
What were you going to
And
say?
then them attacking is kind of stupid. Like, just for a standpoint of me being, I
Trademark
don't know nothing
infringement.
about it.
Trademark infringement is a very indifferent situation. I dealt with those complaints. It's a pain in the butt. Go ahead, son.
The current pools, so you were saying a lot of the pools on like miningpools.stream or whatever are not live yet. So the first one that did go live with that, which was this Chia-Core, they just are getting forced to change their name to Core-Pool. So I think when they go live, they'll have to change their name. Possibly. I don't know.
That
And
still just seems silly to me.
It's silly. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I think the reason why they haven't changed their name on there yet is they're not live with the official software yet. And I'm actually curious on the second if Bram actually talked to some pool ops and let them know that they're going to change it, or if this is because there's going to be official pools or something along those lines where the devs get a cut of the fees. That's possible. And so being able to have that chiapool.com, in the Google SEO is where they want you to find them, because the devs are going to get an additional cut from that. Who knows? Obviously it's sketch, but I don't know that it's proof of any, I don't know that it's proof that it's like Chia is a scam, but it's like one of those things where it raises an eyebrow, right?
It's proof of corporo status leanings. I'll put it that way. It's not the sort of thing you like to see in the blockchain space that I like to see in the free and open source software space. Right? Where it's like, you better step off our trademark, or we're coming after you. Come on.
No one else can have the word Chia in their pools, but we're gonna release our own pool. We're gonna name it the Chia mining pool.
So back in that
meeting, like, only we can have that.
back in that meeting I was talking about, from my understanding, and this is just my understanding, I could be wrong. The whole not using Chia in your pool name, which is ironic, was like, if you do use it, we're not gonna stand behind you, so to speak. Because what Bram mentioned is that there are going to be all kinds of pools, but there's going to be pools that kind of get their blessing, so to speak. I'm not sure how that works or what the criteria is, but the pools that get
official supported pools.
Yeah, but they're not going to be official pools. So is this an official pool that we're talking about, the Core Dev?
No, that's an unofficial pool. So there's two unofficial pools right now, H pool, and now it's Core-Pool. It was Chia-Core when I made the video this week, and then I guess now it's changed to Core-Pool. So yay for making YouTube content. That being said, so they aren't an official at this point. I don't know if H pool or Core-Pool, which I think he's in chat. Sanchez, the dev, is in chat. Are you guys planning on moving to the official pool software when that's released? Or I guess it's technically released. Are you working on that now? That'd be a question I have. But as of right now, maybe yes, it only goes to the official pools, the Chia branding or whatever. I don't know.
Well, that's a weird situation to be in, I guess you could say. If you want your product to succeed, I'll tell you one thing: you need to work with the community. Whether it's
Bram doesn't like the current pools. I mean, I talked to him on the call that we had where we were addressing the pre-mine, which we can get, or pre-farm. Excuse me, before I get in trouble. That we can discuss here in a second, but. Well, he definitely didn't support H-Pool. I don't know about Core Pool, but a part of the problem with H-Pool is this, because it doesn't use the primary application. So Core Pool or whatever, from my knowledge, goes through the official application. So there's no way for you to disconnect from the pool and take the reward. The problem with H-Pool right now is you can be farming on both. And if you see your plot is the actual plot that won, you can disconnect the H-Pool and take the full reward onto your wallet. There's nothing that forces it to distribute it if you have both of those open at the same time.
The actual official Chia miner, right?
Right.
116 or whatever, and then
you can run
miner.
both of those and basically dual farm. Even though it tells you to close the application, you can. At least this is my understanding from Bram. And what you can do is essentially close out the H-Pool miner farmer, and then it would just pay it out to that wallet, but then that wallet wouldn't disperse it through to the pool, which is also a reason why people are speculating that the Core Dash pool payouts are higher than the H-Pool payouts right now. Going through like the proofs and the steps of, validating that I'm trying to do, but that's obviously difficult because I don't have enough plots to actually steal anything on personally. Like, I only have 12 terabytes, so I can't prove that this is what's going on at H-Pool right now.
Yeah, we don't have the horsepower. I'm pretty sure everybody here that's in this actual stream doesn't have the horsepower to really compete competitively. I'm probably going to be at 100 terabytes by the time everything's said and done with what I got planned, and it's just going to be an at-home non-server configuration, even though Seth is trying to beat me with the server. Only because I'm just going to make it work with what I got. Now, here's the misconception that I had before we go into the pre-farm that Sun mentioned, I was presenting this in my beginning videos as, hey, the at-home person can get involved. I was wrong about that. I was actually educated by Son of a Tech and Seth, Mind Your Biz, that this was really intentional for the corporation side of things. So you're a corporation, right? You got all these servers. You got a certain part of it allocated to the business, whatever, but then you got all this storage that's not doing anything. Well, then you can allocate that to Chia and have a pretty good, well, depending on how much you have, significant amount of side income, so to speak, until your server grows so much or your business grows so much that you have to start using that. Then you delete plots and then go from there. But I was thinking it was an at-home person type thing, like, hey, we can participate, but the likelihood of us being a small farmer, we're not even small farmers according to most of the parameters. I call myself a plankton farmer. I'm that damn small in the network. But no, it's really meant for companies and corporations to be involved. And I'm cryptocurrencies that are for the people, I'm all for. But cryptocurrencies that are really designed for corporations and big companies, I'm a little bit more hesitant. So my eyes are a little bit more open now on what I'm looking at.
Yeah, from the get-go, it was meant for over-provisioned storage. At the end of the day, that's pretty much what it was targeting, which meant that I guess even from my perspective of creating it, yes, if I make a video, it's supposed to be like the at-home guy. So maybe there's some misconceptions if it goes onto my channel, and I should have made that more clear, I think, in my WTF is. But the idea was, and it was specifically over-provisioned storage in things like AWS and Microsoft and Azure and that sort of thing, right? And then Bram has pointed out the total sales, I guess, of hard drive space compared to network growth does prove that over-provisioned storage is now being utilized. So from my knowledge, that plan is moving forward. And to give you guys an idea, the way that works is you rent out a certain amount of storage from like Amazon, AWS, or whatever. And a lot of the times you can't fill it up as a business, right? So to make some additional income, the idea was you would plot on that additional storage. Now there's also other discounts that go into AWS that make this even more likely, right? Like if you plan on company growth from 5-10 years out and you want to receive some discounts for a certain amount of storage for that period of time, you can negotiate that sort of stuff. What that means is a company that's in year one out of that whatever plan, right? Year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it is, they have a lot less data on that storage, and that data that's not being used is referred to as over provisioned. And then basically Chia gets plotted onto that as the idea. And like I said, from what I understand at this point, that is true. This is happening. I don't know at what rate, but from my understanding when speaking with Bram is that if you calculate out, how much hard drive storage there is like on personal computers and how much has been ordered, even from farmers versus how much the network is growing, that this must be taking place at this point. So
yeah, so
go ahead.
that tracks. Yeah, that totally tracks, man. Over provision storage at the enterprise level, that totally makes sense. And again, to walk back some of the very bearish content that you guys have heard from me on my channel, that's primarily been my message, is that if you're going to be the at-home person who's trying to buy this equipment at retail, you're not keeping up with the economies of scale that are happening where the real action is taking place. Like Son of a Tech is saying here, that over provision cloud storage on Azure, on GCP, on AWS, heck, on IBM, right? If you have it, like wherever you got cloud credits for your tech startup, right? You went through Techstars, good for you. You got whatever, $25,000 worth of cloud credits. You're going to do just fine. You're going to do great. Those of us at home who are like, yeah, should I put 3K into new gear over here for plotting? Should I even try to get the hard drive space, even if I'm plotting slow? Like, it's a totally different value proposition. We're going out of pocket for this. Like that I had to blow the whistle as early as possible.
Do you think that some of because initially there wasn't going to be a pool, and do you think that over time, the reason why they did decide to do these pools last minute is because of the demand from retail? Because that's the only way retail can compete is with pools. And initially they weren't going to do pools. And then it seems like enough retail was interested that they were like, oh crap, we better do something about it, because otherwise you get a bad image. So it's almost now that with pools, to me, that does say the devs are shifting a little bit more to retail focus than maybe initially. Because I think it was initially just going to be like all this over provisioned storage. It's fine. Those companies can compete. They have enough storage to do this, right? And to where now it's like, oh, well, all these people need to get in or want to get in. We don't want to, I guess, ostracize a whole segment of the population and then have a bad name around it. So let's go ahead and do pools. Obviously, there's a lot of issues with pools just because of the way farming functions, right? Like we even saw that with Burst before. So I don't think anything's really new as far as like, oh, pools are super complicated for this, because they are, right? I give them time. Maybe if he's working on it, maybe. I haven't seen any of the pool stuff from him yet, but I'm curious. I wonder how it shapes up. I'm not like a huge proponent of using core.pool or hpool, other than the fact that here's the deal. At least they offer an opportunity for you in the retail space to actually farm anything, as opposed to basically farming nothing. So it's like, even if they get access to your private keys, it's almost like, well, you weren't earning anything before anyways. It sucks, but you weren't earning anything anyways.
Yeah, it's a cat and mouse thing. So Son of a Tech. So the overarching question: Do I think that they did pooling to be able to serve retail? Yeah, maybe. But the problem with that, the fundamental problem with that, is that once pools are open, you do a couple of things that completely invalidate the ideological approach to what Chia said they were all about. Proof of space-time is a joke, because you erase the time factor by decreasing the time preference by allowing people to have daily payouts. They can pull out at any time. So that's a joke. It's just proof of capacity. Just own it. Just own it. You're doing exactly what Burst did. Just own it. If it's proof of space and time, and you get rid of the time component because you now have a load time preference based on being able to pool, it's no longer a function of time. It's a function of capacity only. He who has the largest share of capacity wins. And the second problem with pools, once you open the floodgates, well, guess what? Now the big guys can play too.
Well, it
And
still
they get that
stops
daily
grinding. So it does do something.
Sure. Yes.
Proof of time and the
it's not
Time
nothing.
Lords do stop grinding. So, which was a big problem with Burst, and that was what they were aiming, I think, to solve. So I think we could say it solves that. But apparently my understanding too, though, is that the Time Lords present a whole other attack vector. So
Right, yeah.
at this point, it's like, okay, well, you solved grinding, but you just replaced it with another attack vector, especially considering that you only require one Time Lord for the entire network to function. And whoever is the fastest Time Lord wins at this point, right?
And we mentioned that also, or I guess I mentioned it. And it's I don't mean to muddy the waters by bringing up MEV, but in terms of the game theory, that same attack vector is going to be approached by the same bad actor who would exploit MEV. And MEV, Vitalik just went on record not 72 hours ago talking about how MEV is not fixed by 2.0, right? Beacon Chain is already proving this, where it's like, okay, so MEV, we have to I think he made the joke about having to rename it because it won't be miners anymore. It'll be stakers.
Well, it got renamed to miners when miners got upset about EIP 1559. If we're go look through and search for MEV pre any discussion of 1559, and it was called maximal extracted value, or it was BPEV. And then they rebranded that. I think that was intentional. I think that was a PR move, personally.
Yeah, agreed. So it's without muddying the waters too much there, I just mean to say that the Time Lord threat vector, I think, is very similar in terms of the nature of the bad actors that come in. How can I get the fastest reorganization system and position myself such that I get final say for reordering this side of consensus? Because then I win. Again,
I'm still a little confused on where the Time Lords come in as far as transaction processing, because my understanding is all the transaction processing is still done on the drives themselves or on the farmers. So I don't know where that would come in as far as comparing directly to MEV, and I'm still doing research on that. That's one of those things I just don't have an answer to yet. The only thing I do know, because Bram told me, is that it is an attack vector. Exactly how, I'm not perfectly clear on. Just to make that statement in full disclosure, and be completely transparent, I'm not positive what that attack vector is, from my understanding at this point.
Sure. So to qualify my comment there also, without having spoken to Bram about it, and with all the respect, Bram, I love all of your previous work. I have a lot of concern and skepticism right now, which is why I speak it about it in such a skeptical way. But to qualify my comment a little more, what I mean to say is the nature of the actor who comes in and wants to exploit, as I understand it so far, this Time Lord element. It's not that they're going to reorder transactions the way that somebody who's dealing with MEV would. It merely that the mechanism, by having the fastest time to manipulate that variable, is very similar to what one needs to do to exploit MEV, which is why you have the DEXs, AMMs, and mining pools that it's understood are exploiting that now,
right?
As opposed to like actual miners or even large stakeholders, just somebody that has the fastest way to manipulate data that's going to eventually be written on chain, and do so for personal benefit. So that's the only reason I bring that up as a game theory element, is that you have that the same person who's wearing the black hat over with MEV and doesn't really want to be seen. They just want to try to extract value. I think that same person is going to wear a black hat over here with Chia and be like, all right, Time Lord time. This is what I get to do.
Yeah, I mean, provided Chia gets any sort of recognition on near the level of Ethereum, right? I don't think there's enough transactions on the network to warrant any sort of manipulation at all right now. So that's one of those other things that you have to keep in mind, is the project's so early that you can say that there's no hacks for X amount of time and everything's honky-dory, but the fact of the matter is, if there's no reason to hack it, there's no reason to hack it. And the primary attack vectors are usually in those transactions within the blocks that are being solved. So you need to have transactions that are actually going on to make it worth it. And if the transactions are low, it's just not worth it. So we don't really know the viability or I guess the safety or security surrounding Chia at this point, because I think it's too early. So I wouldn't want to put too much conjecture into it at this point, right?
Sure, that's my role in this whole discussion. I'll wear that one.
Let's go. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say the keyword you mentioned there was early, because this project is so new and so early. A lot of the users need to be aware that, you know, what you were saying earlier about the dev core pool, or I keep saying the name wrong, or whatever, H pool and programs and whatever. There's actually a bunch of GitHub programs that can actually help you out, like Plot Watcher, so on and so forth. That you guys all need to be aware that this stuff is all new. And you need to be careful. Hence the reason why in my videos and much of everybody else's videos, we say, do not put this on a computer in which contains personal data information that could be compromised and impact you. So just be aware this is new. Things are still leveling off, so to speak. I don't think the network's leveling off, because we just passed 18. What do you call it? Is it exabytes or exabytes?
Exabytes. It's a exa binary bytes.
Okay.
But
yeah, we just passed 18 while on this stream. We went from 17 to 18, so it's still
by
growing.
2 since yesterday.
It's so pedantic, guys. Sorry. It's just funny. It's like, we're not going to teach retail how to say those words. Everyone's just going to keep saying exabytes. Just keep calling it exabytes. We'll wag the dog here.
Sorry, man. All right, son, you want to move on?
Yeah, so the pre-farm, the big one that we need to get into here. All right, so you guys have probably already watched my video with Bram on it. A couple of notes that I wanted to put in there is that my knowledge is that he is out publicly, as far as I don't know if it was, somebody was saying, I don't know if it's on the spectrum or what it was exactly, but that could account for like the giggles and stuff. I don't want to talk about that. Can we leave all that? As far as like, how would I put it? I don't think that it serves us to attack character or emotional states or anything as far as that goes when we're referencing that video. Is that helpful?
I think that's fair. Yeah, Sonotech, I think that's fair at all times when we're discussing somebody who is a meaningful contributor to these projects. It'd be like trying to poke fun at Vitalik's appearance. Just not appropriate.
Yeah, so I don't think that helps. So I just wanted to clear that up before we get into it, because I'm not a fan of those in the comment section either, guys. So we're going to leave that aside. My understanding as far as the pre-farm does sound sketchy. We have basically what they've done, in his own words, is set up two things. You have the Chia network and you have the Chia company. The Chia company controls the pre-farm. And this is basically to make sure that Chia network is not a security. That's all it is. It's basically, as far as my understanding, it's separating those two to make sure that there's, I guess, legally there's things going on there, right? The Chia pre-farm under the company serves as essentially development costs, so on, right? It's going to improve the worth of the company, which is fine until you have none of that in circulation at the beginning as well. So what you end up having is you have an exchange that has a limited supply, much more limited, you know, like 10% of the entire circulating supply or whatever, if you count the pre-farm. And that drives the price of that up. What does that do? That drives the price of the company up. So no matter how you cut that cookie, I think it's going to look suspicious to everybody. And I think that everybody should be cautious when they see that sort of thing. Now, there's the idea, of course, that you need to have development costs. Well, okay, that's fine. We get that. It's very large, one. Two, I don't necessarily agree that has to be the thing. I have a video coming out on Tuesday covering another coin called Ergo, if you want to get into details on that. But what they did was a no pre-farm, no emissions kind of in the beginning, no emissions release. What that means is that they had no pre-mine, nothing like that. What they did was set a block reward of 75 that cut down to 66.7 after 2 years, and everything above 66.7 would be paid to the developer wallet for development costs. Okay, so that's the way they handled it.
They put it on a vesting schedule, essentially, but their core team.
But at the same time, their entire worth now after the 2.5 years is only like 50 million, and it's based off of, I believe it was total coins of like 9 million or something out of a total supply of like 90 million, right? So it's not the pre-mine, or how they did it is still is 10% of the total circulating supply, not 90% of the total circulating supply.
Right.
There
Yeah,
you
that
go.
makes so much
Okay.
more sense. Yeah, you got velocity in that system now too. You got utilization. You actually there's an understanding of whether or not it's even being adopted by other people. And to keep Ergo, I mean it's getting a lot of love, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of us are looking at the content there. So I'll be doing the how to just for Hive OS, which is really just a how to, right?
You got it.
Yeah, right. But
I cover all the details from a technical perspective this Tuesday. I believe the video comes out. So if you guys are
looking
curious,
forward to it. But there's so many other projects that didn't do a pre-mine, that had an air quotes fair launch, and that they still managed to carve out enough. Managed to carve out enough of the community support. And I'll just mention Monero. Monero was fair launched, and you got members of the community who are really generous whales in the community who just say, I really like the idea and the mission of this coin, so of course I'm going to fund it. And they have this little bounty system, right, where they've got all kinds of different projects, including content that can be funded before you even begin to do any work, execute anything in their ecosystem. They're not the only ones either, right? So can think of a handful of them. Flux, another great one, totally worth mentioning, right? Good actors. Dan's a great guy. Miles, good kid before he took off, right? Like really great team. And they fundraise in a totally different way by providing value along the way, and then getting that sort of like taking the temperature of the market as they go. And if the market kind of tells them no, they don't pursue a certain initiative. To go exactly like backwards, I mean, it's the cart before the horse, really. Like, okay, we need all this money before we can develop anything. Like, what?
So the elephant in the room is going to be that Ethereum is basically the same as far as the pre-mine goes. And then people would say, because Ethereum is successful, this must be good. So what do you think about that?
You bring up a really good point. I may be the only person in this roundtable that's ever done a video asking whether or not Ethereum is a scam, and asking it in good faith, like really trying to engage the audience, because those are valuable questions. Yeah, not just a pre-mine, but an ICO where people traded one full Bitcoin. At that time, I mean, the exchange rate was awesome, right? In history, or historically, if you were to trade one full Bitcoin for the 2,000th Ether that you would have gotten for the ICO, you'd be doing just fine. You wouldn't be upset at all with the performance of ETH. But yeah, as far as the development team, I mean, what is it? You either die young or you live long enough to become the villain. And now we have Charles Hoskinson, right? Like, because of that pre-mine. Now we've got the Polkadot team, right? With Gavin, who's a good actor, probably good faith actor. But if you don't like these weird forks where people go off and do all their other stuff because they have ideological problems, then don't pay them so much at the beginning of a project. You got people who just like, they grab that pre-mine, they grab that ICO, and they use it like a golden parachute to just like be like, all right, I'm out of here. They bail from the project because they don't want to go, either they don't like the way it's being steered or the way it's being built mid-flight. And so I think there are a lot of problems. Son of a Tech, it's a can of worms you just open right there, but I think it's worth looking into and being critical about also.
Well, what's interesting is if you listen to Bram in the interview that I did with him, he said that they didn't want to do things like ICOs and airdrops. Yet he does want to be compared to ETH if we're talking about the total pre-mine or pre-farm. So it's like, okay, which one is it then? You're not okay with ICOs, but is that because you want to put all of that pre-farm into your company? Or is that because you genuinely think that, it's wrong or unethical? And then a follow-up to that is, if we look at like 2016 to 2018, when all the ICOs were dropping, et cetera, a lot of people got in trouble for securities. So I don't actually think you can do that all the time anymore. So they have a legal workaround for that right now, sort of, right? By sure. Basically turning up the value of the company versus with the value of the network, or with the value of the tokens on the network being held by the company.
Yeah, no,
You see how it's like a workaround to that's a workaround to the airdrops being in trouble for securities. I think. I'm not positive because I'm not a legal guy, you know,
Yeah.
B, I'm not a financial guy, but what it seems like is he was against, you know, the ICO and the airdrops, but for the preform. And I don't know what that means is going on in the background, but that's the best guess I got.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, it's a tricky landscape launching after 2017 and 2018, right when the other shoe dropped. Got a lot of people that were subpoenaed, and gosh, now the BitConnect guy.
Oh, I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
Well, here's the thing, man.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
final
been
reality.
years.
Bro.
McAfee is in prison. That guy is getting subpoenaed again. The BitConnect guys are getting subpoenaed again. Like, it's getting pretty serious. The IRS is not playing around.
Nope. And you think you could get away for so many years until one day, knock, knock, knock.
Yeah, so I get it. I get it. With new teams trying to figure out creative ways to engage in fundraising and try to avoid, like, they're not so much. I get why they wouldn't care so much about the court of public opinion as much as like the literal SEC and the actual IRS being interested in what they're doing, or worse, the FBI potentially, if it comes to criminal charges, in how poorly securities laws were treated by a given team, because that happens in the crypto scene all the time. Most people aren't. Like, we don't talk about it in polite company, but the FBI, they can knock on your door if you've done a token sale incorrectly and they're trying to claw back funds on behalf of like a criminally administered ICO or STO. So it can get very serious very fast. I get that. In the meantime, bro, if you're taking the traditional tech startup route, you're taking dollars, right? You're taking fiat money from people, and tens of millions of them. Why not? Like, why not just say, like, okay, part of our vision is that we want to do a fair launch, and it's because we're talking to this inner circle of people who funded us. We're a largely enterprise oriented system, right? Like you mentioned, unprovisioned storage, cloud storage. Then the people who already have a foot up or a leg up in those systems and in those cloud platforms, they roll in that same circle of the people who bankrolled Bram and the rest of the Chia team. So you've already given them enough of the insight that they need to submit proof of whatever the scarce resource is, right? Whether it's CPU, GPU, hard drive, call it capacity, call it time space, whatever you want. They've got that scarce resource. They can allocate funds and allocate material to that pursuit. And they can get in and make themselves whales, very similar to how some other projects have done, where it's like, look, we know it's launching. Yeah, we funded you, and we want some ownership of your company or whatever. There's some other consideration we can do. But if they're reserving some massive pre-mine, ultimately in exchange for that financial consideration, that fiat consideration, I already ran my disclaimer for my stream, so they know this isn't legal advice. I'm not a CPA or whatever, and I'm not like a securities attorney. I'm spitballing here from the conversations that I've had with people who've gone through Y Combinator and Techstars and stuff, right? Like, but when you're taking financial consideration from one group of investors, do you really need 90% of the available coin supply to be able to pretend like your company is going to be valuable? I just don't see that. There's a pretty big disconnect there. And I think in the final analysis, you could still be accused of running a token sale because you're holding that.
Well, it's weird, right? Because those coins values are overvalued essentially because of the supply on the actual network, right? So that's where it seems to get sketchy to me, is like, if only 10% is on the exchanges, but you know that 90% is going to look like it's worth a lot more than it actually is. And I think that's kind of a weird one. I think as far as the pre-farm concerns for the public, anybody looking at investing into Chia, what you have to keep in mind is, like, they can promise us all day that they're not going to touch it. At the end of the day, a cold wallet, all that means is they wrote down the private key and put it in a safe. I tried to press him for how that was secured, or if they had future security plans for that. I think there are, from what he says. But as it sits right now, there's nothing stopping them from, liquidating those. And you could be in good faith as much as you want, but as soon as the project starts to go downhill, that changes, or it
the,
can
the
change.
investors can call for their money. Now, in order to get those funds out, from my understanding, there has to be a board approval on it. But we don't know who. Do we know who's on that board? Do we know what the parameters are? We don't know how it's stored. There's a number of variables that are unknown. But yeah, in order to get those funds out, they have to have board approval.
Well, I'll do this. It's really easy to see how easy it is because we just saw Vita dump all the Shiba tokens.
Inu code. Yep.
So they want to say it's difficult and they don't have access to their cold wallets, but he pretty much did that by himself. And on the podcast with forgot that guy's name now.
Lex Friedman.
Lex Friedman, he said that it was a little bit more difficult because he had to call his family and have him read the other side. If that's just as difficult as it is to get a hold of your cold storage, I'm just telling you guys, it's not that hard.
Yeah, well, that's including. So for the audience that may not be very familiar with seed phrase management and key pair derivation, like using something like Shamir's secret, right? Shamir's secret, you can split your seed phrase essentially, or we'll just call it a split seed phrase. Even something like that, like you're saying, instead of a tech, you only have to get a quorum, right? If it's a 5 of 6 multi-sig or whatever, there's so many other different schemes. You only need to get whatever that minimum level of consensus or the minimum required number of pieces of data to be able to move those funds anyway. And I saw that conversation that you conducted with Brad. I mean, congrats again. It was a great conversation. You said you didn't feel very prepared, but I think you asked great questions, and I think you chased this down appropriately. You didn't just let it go by saying, "Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, the funds are Seifu. Thank you, CZ." Like, we can't just take things at face value. No, there are only so many ways to secure crypto, like you're saying. And usually, I mean, it sounds really messed up, but a $5 wrench normally gets people to give up their seed phrase. That's usually all it takes. And if they don't have it split and definitely secured in some very, very well thought out way right now, then maybe it's not Bram, but maybe it's somebody else on their leadership team that you have to go tune up with that $5 wrench, and voila, the pre-farm is gone.
Yeah, and that's just from I just want to make that clear to everybody, right? Is like, I'm not detecting direct malice or a plan for a scam or a rug pull, but the nature of crypto tells me in the past that is definitely a possibility. And if they have 90% of the circulating supply locked up in custody of that company, then you're basically putting all your faith on the price of the coins right now in them not liquidating any of it for an extended period of time.
Right. They could say they're not going to touch it, but we don't know that. And you made a good point, Seth, about the $5 wrench and find that one individual that might have that capability. But if the project dumps or whatever, and the investors are like, you know what, I'm done with the project, I want out, that could dump it even further. That could dump the price even further, making Chia even less profitable. So the pre-farm was covered. What else do we have on the table? Because I have something that I want to talk about, but it's more towards the actual process of plotting and what to look out for. But what else do we want to cover there, son?
From everything as far as the large concerns, pools we covered, pre-farms we covered, attack vectors we covered. So I think you're good to go. Bring up whatever you want.
I think we also covered, just briefly, albeit briefly, we also covered the bad optics of trying to chase down unenforceable trademarks, which is dumb in crypto.
Right. And that article I linked in our channels. I don't think I could post link in Mind Your Biz and Son of a Text, but I posted it's you can find it. If you go look it up, you can find it where they're trying to enforce that trademark. So the Chia situation, let me see if I can do this. Which one?
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Here is a basic, like I said, I really never wanted to get into Chia, like mining personally. So I'm just here for learning purposes only. What is now like the base cost to even get into, plotting? Like, is it outrageous for people to get into this at this point?
What's the cost of entry?
Yeah, well,
I think, well, it's cheaper than GPU mining if you're talking about just entry, because and
I'm
I
just
think
curious.
pools help that, right? So you're really only talking about needing like a Raspberry Pi for the farmer, and then maybe just an old Xeon or something for the plotter. Now you're going to be slow and you're not going to compete on the network. We'll have to see what pools do. But if we're talking about just barrier to entry, we're talking about an old desktop PC with a hard drive on it. If we're talking about making money on it, then that's where we get into, you know, you can go watch a lot of CES videos on, you know, competition of the network, et cetera, and how far out that's going to be. Now, some of that's going to change with the pools though, right, Seth? So I want to make that clear.
No, it will, but let's talk even further. Let's extrapolate out to 6 months where I personally, guys, this is not technical analysis, but just looking at the macro cycle, right? Looking at the Bitcoin halving cycle and how the entire market tends to follow Bitcoin. If we're looking 6 months down the line, 7 months, 8 months down the line, when Chia dips, because it will inevitably dip, then you have to start figuring out what is the air quotes long-term evolution, the long-term plan for that hardware purchase. How are you going to sunset all of these drives that you have lying around that are definitely not paying the rent at that time if you're joining as a retail participant in Chia or any kind of proof of capacity type scheme? With GPUs, I mean, we saw before, yeah, GPUs, they took a pretty gnarly hit. It was a great time to pick up some 1000 series NVIDIA cards or some great Vega cards between 2018, 2019, right? There was a sweet spot there where you could pick stuff up actually below MSRP again. But here we are again in the middle of this environment, and even terrible old 4 gig cards that probably have no business being resold are being resold to the secondary markets at above launching MSRP after having been mined on for like 4 years, sometimes in dirty old like barns and warehouses, not even cleaned.
Rusted.
Yeah.
all
Yeah, I've seen
rusted and
some of
dusty.
them that are pretty gnarly looking on like eBay, and you're like, oh, you're investing like $200 of it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like,
Yeah, but they're
just
selling.
because they can,
Yeah, exactly. And if it's not
and
you, it's
someone's gonna
somebody
pay
else.
for it.
Yeah. So
And
you
as
look at
far
that
as
secondary
Chia,
market. Go ahead.
and as far as Chia, like you know, best thing to do is get NVMe drives, right? Because that's the fastest way to plot. They're doubled in price. They're starting to double in price.
Yes. So retail is getting dumped on right now. And I mean, it's not that Chia is dumping on you. It's that the market does what markets do, right? The moment that they see like, oh, people value this, awesome. I'm gonna add a $50 to that price. Oh, I got that sold really fast. I'm gonna add 100. That sold really fast. I'm gonna double the price now. And so retail participants in Chia are they don't even see how they're just getting so dumped on right now. And then when things dip and there's a glut of capacity oriented IT on the market, like storage, NVMEs, 2.5-inch drives, SSDs, and then the large spinning platters, right? The large spinning disk, the 18 terabyte drives, and then the SAS drives too that are being bought up right now. Those prices are going to drop right down. You're not going to recoup your costs in the same way unless you do a long-term hold when it goes back into profitability. And when that happens, GPUs, I agree with Son of a Tech. It's cheaper to go with hard drives than with GPUs right now, but GPUs have a secondary use case and a secondary market. I promise you, even just from a personal perspective, I doubt you're going to value having 18 terabytes of additional storage for your editing workstation more than you're going to value having like a 3000 series RTX card that just kicks butt across every possible use case, whether it's content creation or gaming. It's just going to do better, period.
Well, how about them hard drive prices? Loving it. I'm glad I picked up most of my drives ahead of time, or I already had them. I just needed to build it. So I would like to go back to the hard drive aspect of situation or hardware market in just a second, but I want to talk about plot filter because I need more education for myself as well, because in the Chia on Windows, we're just talking about from a Windows perspective. If you look at your farm, you can see that your plots, it will say, you know, plots pass filter, you know, 1 out of 296, 1 out of 296, sometimes 2 or whatever. And there's a link. If you click on mouse over the question mark here, learn more, it would take you to an FAQ, which I actually already have pulled up here. And that FAQ has some good information that you guys need to understand. I'm still working on understanding it myself, which is why I haven't made a video on it. But in short, you guys have all this hardware, right? Say you got maybe a server or just a little NAS or something like that. What's super important is, the delay in which it takes to read those plots, to provide the signage points and stuff like that. From my understanding, you need to be able to scan your drives in less than 5 seconds, but you need to be able to respond to the Time Lord within 28. And when I looked at my logs in Chia, I noticed something. Let me see if I could pull it up here.
Same here.
Careful, you're live on mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna show everything. I'm gonna show everything. I'm going.
Do it.
All right,
there.
stream over. Out.
So let's see here. I'm gonna make sure that I'm on a good spot. All right. So on my screen, if you guys can see throughout the channels, you could see how long it took for each plot to get signage points or what have you and validate. And it's less than a second. This is good, but I noticed something, and that is when my main computer, which I have plots on my main computer, the computer I'm streaming on, but also my NAS. When I have to talk across the network to my NAS, that's where I get delays of over 5 seconds, and that can impact performance. Now, my question is this: if I have a wallet set up, and it's the same wallet on both the main machine and the NAS, is that considered double spending or no? Because they're both connected to the same 296 plots.
You have to, yeah, you would have to remove the plots from one, right? But I think whatever reports faster is gonna take it.
That's why I set it up the way I did, because the NAS can report faster with its direct storage than my main machine, and my main machine can report faster with its direct storage than the NAS.
Yeah, so I mean, like if we're talking about like hardware configuration, ideally what you want to have is a closed ecosystem for the farmer and the plotter through a 10 gig switch, and then out from whatever the VM is, right, to the public internet. So, and that's going to pretty much resolve a majority of your latency issues and help you to scale as well, right? Because then all you got to do is you run out of space on NAS 1, you plug in NAS 2, plug in the 10 gig, plot away on that and load it into the VM. So usually you have like a plotter, a VM, and then your storage, right? Or sorry, the plotter, the farmer, and then your storage. And right now too, because I was playing with it, VMs will not plot very fast. So you need to do bare metal for your plotter.
Seth, I have a question for you. How do you speed up? Because I think the speed in which you provide these signage points, as well as provide whatever the Time Lord's requesting in time. So again, less than 5 seconds to, I think, provide the plot filter or signage point, and then you got 28 seconds to respond to the Time Lord in order to get it. My question is this: how do I find out? And I know in the log I can look at it, but how do I find out or tune to where my system is operating really fast? Like it's fast right now, but what happens, like right now, my Comcast is screwing with me on my stream and I'm dropping. So my internet's one, but the speed of the drive also matters. Am I correct?
I mean, to some extent, yeah. When you're talking about like millisecond access and like retrieval times, for sure, that's going to be the case. And as far as that response, I mean, we're going back to like spinning platters versus SSDs versus RAID configurations of either. You are going to get better access times with SSDs, even than some spinning platter configurations in RAID, just because it's access time. It's not about like sustained read write. To be able to fetch this response, because you're basically it's more of an attestation than it is like an IO operation, right? Like really like big fat pipe of IO. So yeah, that's going to be, it's another piece to that puzzle. However, if you do have a large volume plotted, it's just kind of like, this is me spitballing here, guys. I'm not managing large scale stuff, so I'm not speaking from experience here. There you go, disclaimer. But just in terms of just speed, like Son of a Tech said, as few layers of abstraction as possible, not in VMs, on bare metal if possible, and then having, even if you are putting your plots on large spinning disks, try to, like, if you can handle not having data parity, try to work on RAID if you can. I know some people are saying they're just doing JBOD, and that's how this whole thing was architected, right? But
yeah, and I'm using RAID 0, but I mean, here's the downside to RAID 0. A drive takes a dump and I'm out. I'm done. I got to replot that entire
All of that.
RAID.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm using spanning, right?
Yeah.
So it's like JBOD, but if, like, let's say a NAS, there's 4 drives in the NAS, one drive goes bad, I only have to
gotta
replace
replace
that
it.
one.
Right.
Yeah.
It
So-
doesn't wreck the whole volume, right?
but then you're replotting instead of rebuilding. I'd say,
Yes.
like, if you can handle, especially if you're going with used spinning platters where you know you have a pretty high likelihood of having, like, losing a drive, why not go with a RAID 5? You're going to get very similar read speeds to your RAID 0, and then you don't have a lot of fault tolerance, but you can lose one, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem with this whole venture from the get-go. I mean, ideally, like RAID 10 would be awesome, but you're gonna tank half of your storage just doing that. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
People want more storage, right?
Yeah.
More plots.
more plots, more storage, more money,
And,
but yeah.
If you look online and a lot of the Reddits and various forums, all people are doing is which I'll have a video coming out in the future, but they have a bunch of storage, not even in a chassis, right? So Crypto Mikkel and I were talking about this, 3D printing the stands that holds the hard drives, and they have it all connected, but they're not in RAID. They're just as they are, 7,200 RPM regular SATA drives, where, what is SAS speeds rated at for, Seth? Like 10K and above?
Yeah.
See, I mean, you can get SAS drives that spin at only 7,200 RPMs also. Like, it's just that's just the interface, right? As opposed to SATA, like, yeah, it's just a different
But the
interface.
the read times is as important as the internet connection that you have. And again, if this is not for the at-home user and for corporations, they more than likely have a huge pipeline and a better connection than any of us could, so they can, get it done really fast. So it's hard to compete at that level, but I'm still trying to fine tune my setup, look at the logs. And that's what you should be doing, by the way, is inside your, see users under your computer name, go to the .chia folder under the mainnet and look at the logs and see what you're doing. If you're taking over 5 seconds, that's not good.
I'm taking over 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Dang.
so there's some fine tuning that we have to do, but I'm still learning that.
1 gig LAN on NASs. Yeah, I got to do
Dude.
something.
Yashnik's profits are holding on for dear life.
Yeah, I
On the
got to do
fingernails.
something.
I did find an article and a video that I will share with you guys in a future video, but I'm gonna share with the guys offline that can help you out. There's various resources, and my stuff just tanked. Hopefully you guys are still getting me. But yeah, this internet connection is one of the biggest problems that I have, and that's Comcast. It's Comcastic. So my hard drive speeds are pretty good, or my read times, but it's the internet that tanks.
I'm
Yeah,
curious,
on Spectrum, I moved to-
VPN? I'm sorry,
No, you're good.
just troubleshooting. I mean, so Vega, are you on a VPN also? Do you wind up having, like, worse ping from certain when you run through the VPN?
No,
Do you need to tunnel it?
I think it's just Comcast, because my neighborhood sucks, and Home Dude across the street ran into his box. So like if my neighborhood's on a share line, then that's gonna screw me over.
Well, it
Okay.
is going to be,
Yeah,
right? Because
Yeah,
it's
it's
And you got
Comcast.
coax. Yeah.
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 So I went through my router settings. It did this earlier in my stream today. It did it a little bit yesterday, and it's doing it now. It's just I've been talking to Comcast, and all they want to send me is, how they are. Oh, I'll send you a reset signal. Like, get somebody out of here. Come on now. But yeah, it's I'm just trying to tweak my setup. But I'm not going to be anywhere near what you guys would recommend and stuff like that. I would love to have a server, but then my wife would kill me, because I already have enough heat being outputted outside that door right now, causing the AC bill to go up. But I just wanted to share that.
Another thing too, like the more plots you have on said drive, the longer it will take as well, right? Because it has to go read through all the plots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that time's going to go up the more plots you have.
I wish I kept my 9900K. I sold my 9900K just to turn around and get a 9600K. That's what the NAS is being powered by. But the 5900X is a pretty good CPU, but it's still to read off the NAS over the network, because I'm not on 10 gig, is killing me. So
And you're plotting over the network?
yeah, the cable's right behind me. It's running literally along the wall and over to it. I mean, it's actually not bad. So average plot times, depending on the drive, is like 4 hours. And then it plots over the network in about 10 to 15 minutes. And it does run pretty fast, but it's only gigabit, not 10 gigabit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll upgrade my network in the future, but upgrading my internal network isn't going to do anything if my connection to the outside world is crap.
Like for me, I can plot 15 in 27, 28 hours, but they're done plotting like after 24 hours. It's taking that long to copy over to the NAS, right? That's my bottleneck as well.
Yeah, I mean, guys, so for my part, I mean, I've been playing the part of the bear, right? I've been debating on the side of the bears for the whole project. Some of these pain points, it just kind of validates what Son of a Tech was saying before, where this is enterprise grade crypto. It's enterprise grade blockchain, and that's like,
what it's meant for.
Yeah, all these pain points, they just validate that. They validate that assertion that this is designed for the enterprise. However, that it begs the question, like, okay, then who's going to use this stuff? And why? Like, why?
Well, it has been being used. That's kind of the thing at the end of the day. Like, it's clear from when calculating the numbers, at least my understanding was that it is being used by over provisioned storage, because it's impossible for the amount of hard drive sales in the past year or whatever versus how much is already out there on the retail space to actually make up for how fast the Chia network is growing.
Yeah, so let me be more clear. Not who's going to use the blockchain, because that is apparent that, yeah, a lot of it is over provisioned storage in cloud, but who's going to actually use the coin or the smart contract layer, like
other coins
on the other side, right? Product market fit, this actual coin network, the proposed value that this whole solution is designed to help fill in a gap for. Who the heck is that?
It doesn't use as much power.
Yeah, I mean the
Wow.
sale is the green, right? And then, I mean, to be honest, it's so early that I think it'd be kind of unfair to make that, or to call that out at this point, right? Like, there was no contracts on ETH in the first days. Like, it takes time for that sort of thing and solutions to be built out. I think like maybe it changes these days on where you move forward, like bridges and so on are definitely going to help. And maybe the devs are going to do a lot of this themselves too. I mean, who knows, right?
Well, Singleton that's coming out is a smart contract, but you're talking about actual use cases and stuff like that. Don't they have color coins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they proposed color coins.
Why are you smiling, Seth?
You mean they forked color coins? Guys, I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. If they're looking at UTXO-based systems, it's not like Vitalik didn't already leave a crap ton of boilerplate for them before he left Bitcoin land and started Ethereum. I mean, there were some proposed solutions that already had significant amounts of work done before Ether launched. So the idea that smart contracts would come was that was a credible claim. And now it's like, it's awesome that Taproot is live on Chia now. That's really, really cool. Really great. Awesome. What about mixers? What about smart contracts? It's not like they couldn't already, again, fork RSK or OmniLayer, or like name a half dozen smart contract layers that are UTXO based right now in production right now, and just say like, cool, we want developers to build this. So because we took $60 million of investor money, and because we pre-mined the crap out of our own network, like, we're going to create bounties for developers. Come build stuff now.
They were distracted by the pools that they didn't need. They know they needed. There you go. Come on, dude. Well, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I mean,
I know it's FUD, guys. I realize. I get it. It comes across as just like FUD for me. I know that. But it's also like, you spend enough time through enough cycles and you just get tired of the same rhetoric.
No, I hear you. I mean, like, we see it a lot right now. Even just like a Bitcoin Miami conference turning into a BitConnect conference. It's what it feels like. But I mean, that happens when there's that happens when there's this FOMO, right? Which is what's going on, and you're in a bull run like this. It happened last time. So I don't think, though, that means every project that comes out during a bull run is a scam, though, right? Like, we are going to see a lot of them. I actually, like, to end this, I just want to say I don't think any of the pools that are currently out are intentionally scamming. I don't think Chia right now is an intentional scam. I think there's some, like, red flags that we need to pay attention to, and you need to just pay attention. And that's it, right? Like, it's not rocket science here, but I want to be careful on, like, because I see, like, a lot of people that want to label everything as a scam, and I don't see anything that's, like, saying that anybody's doing anything intentional here. It's definitely going to feel like a scam if it starts to tank and they liquidate those coins, though. And there's a lot of coins there, and that's a problem.
Yeah, so I agree with that largely, Son of a Tech, just to be very clear. For the record also, and I think I've tried to maintain that ideological balance in the videos that I've produced so far, being very bearish without calling anybody a scammer or a scam. Bull markets, ironically, they're a very difficult time to launch because the money is so easy. The money flows so easily. But then also people's expectations are tempered. Look at the top 25 market cap outside of these established proof of work projects. Or look at the top 25 in DeFi tokens that are trading that have billions of dollars, right, in market cap, and try to make sense of that. What value are they providing? Right, like none. So it's a weird time to launch. I get that. I don't mean to disparage, right, or needlessly denigrate the work of the Chia team. Not at all. So I'll continue to say it. I mean, BitTorrent absolutely changed the world. No doubt that because of some of the other, like, related network effects, we wouldn't have, I'm convinced we wouldn't have the level of communication ability that we have, like, right now, like video chat and such, like, of the various web technologies, WebRTC and everything else. I'm sure there's plenty that would not have been able to get where it is if there weren't other tech that didn't stand on the shoulders of the giants like Bram and what he made with BitTorrent. It's amazing. Chia, I have my doubts. I have my concerns. It's because we've been burned so many times in the middle of bull runs where it's like, yes, otherwise well-meaning teams, but stuff is maybe not well thought out. Like, how do you start something like this that has any proof of work component and then not realize you need pools until then all of a sudden you add pools, and then you don't think about what that's going to do to the tokenomics of your coin, or the game theory of, again, not totally erasing, but largely erasing the time component of space-time. Like, some of the stuff is, it just seems like level 0 understanding of blockchain, and I still don't get how it was missed.
Well, I mean, a lot of that stuff does get missed. I hate to go back to Ergo, but, you know, Ergo was originally no pools. It was pool resistant. That's what it was supposed to be, and now they have pools. So this happens a lot. So I don't think it's anything new under the sun, I guess is what I'm saying. And they launched very similar to Chia, Ergo in particular. They launched in 2017 during a bull run, had a huge pump, and then took a crap, and then have completely changed their model at this point. They were pretty much all the way no pools ever. That was like the big selling point. What would get interesting is, what is the selling point for Chia right now? It's the green, right? And then it's the prevention of grinding, right? So those are the two big selling points.
Grinding, can you explain a little more on that side of things?
Yeah, so grinding was an issue that Burstcoin had. And essentially it was, I guess, at the very base, rewriting your lottery ticket over and over and over again, trying to win. Does that make sense? I think that's the easiest way to explain it. If somebody else wants to go into more detail. But that's where the term grinding comes from, because you're grinding the hard drive, rewriting it over and over and over again. And the portion of, so proof of space is Burstcoin, adding proof of time with the Time Lords, sort of. I don't have a full understanding, other than I can say the proof of time portion of that is to prevent the grinding.
Bingo. I'm joking.
I don't know. There you go.
Yeah, I guess I apologize. I'm all talked out as far as, like, the bearish points, the skepticism.
I think we'll just wrap it up with some questions. I'll grab some questions from my chat, and then we'll go. I'm going to say we got 10, 15 minutes for questions if you guys have any, and then we'll go from there. Keep it cool.
Sounds good.
This has nothing to do with Chia, but Golden Wolf, it's not my router. It's not my modem. It's Comcast. They suck. I have a good modem and router. Router is the Asus AX88U, and the modem is the Surfboard from Aris, but it's the 10
It's
gigabit
the squirrels, bro. It's the squirrels, man.
I need to go out there and shoot some squirrels. But no, any questions, please post it in the live chat for either of our channels.
Wagner, thanks for the donation. He said, what about Chia Core Pool? How is it possible to reuse existing plots? Well, it's all just tied into the wallet. So if the plots are tied to a key, make sure that the wallet directory that you're pointing to is the same wallet directory that created the previous plots, and then you're good to go.
Tropical on your channel says join H-Pool. How do you feel about that?
So H-Pool and Core Pool both had payouts. H-Pool is less secure so far from my understanding. And then in addition to it, the payouts are currently less, but I think that has to do with the, like we said, the large farmers disconnecting whenever they win a plot. I don't know exactly because I can't test that at this point. So it's up to you. You can use H-Pool or Core Pool. Be careful. Just be very careful with these right now. They're not official.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to a stranger and give them the house keys and feel comfortable with it, go for it. But I'm not.
Isn't H-Pool like 20% fee or something? That's what I heard.
And then somebody said Core Pool scans and modifies. It does not modify. Right now, I only show reads on my resource monitor. I am not showing any writes to the config. I'll continue to monitor it and see if we can confirm writes to the config, and then I don't see it touching the key files right now.
Very good hustle says, I would love to hear all of you describe your personal Chia setups and profitability. We really can't go into profitability because has anybody even got Chia yet?
Yeah, I'm getting Chia on H-Pool, or I was, and now it's swapped over to Core Pool. It was doing about $1 a day. Well, 85 cents a day per 10 terabytes.
Yashnik, did you get?
0.
Same
But
here.
I'm just solo testing right now.
Seth has all the Chia. It's all going to him.
Chia.
But as far as personal setups, what I would suggest is after the stream, go and check out our individual channels. You see, Son of a Tech's got a pretty good setup. Me, I'm using an old school chassis and got just a bunch of old hardware in there that I'm utilizing because it's not profitable if you're out buying thousands of dollars of equipment just to get into it. It's not. If you already have the hardware on hand, go for it. If you don't, spending money, especially right now in this market, it's not recommended in my personal opinion, but you have to see. But yeah, just go through our channel. I don't want to talk about it in this stream. I want to answer any questions.
I don't plot at all. I'm not a plotter. I'm here just to learn a little bit more from this side because
I should be clear.
I really don't have an interest in Chia mining personally at a personal
it's
standpoint.
Farming.
But,
it's farming.
Whatever.
Good. Watch it, bro. Man,
it's harvesting and farming.
All right. I was going to say that just to be clear, all of the hardware that I am farming Chia on, I previously owned. I used to be a cloud solution specialist, so I already had Dell Power Vaults and R710 and 720 XDs on hand. None of it was purchased other than the 10 gig cards and the 10 gig switch. So it's not like I went out and purchased a whole bunch of stuff as opposed to what I did for Ethereum mining, etc., which was go out and build a farm and actually purchase all the GPUs. So this is hardware that's laying around. And so I wanted to be clear on that for anybody that was curious. Homegrown asks, do you know if Core Pool plans to release Linux? No, I do not know if they're going to release Linux. Sorry. You could go ask them in their Discord though. And then any thoughts on when NetSpace growth might slow? What was it that he said in the call? I think it was 100 exabytes.
Yeah, 100. Originally, wasn't it some argument between like 20 and 100 or something like that?
I don't.
But yeah.
I thought Shane had an argument with them over it slowing earlier, like 20. But last from Bram that I heard is that network growth won't slow until 100.
So it's going to continue to grow. We went back under 18 just now, but we peaked at 18 during this live stream, and as more and more users get online, both the small and the various companies and corporations, this net space is going to grow so much faster. That's why pools are needed or were needed from the jump, but we'll have to wait and see how things plan out.
I think we're going to wrap it up there. Done with questions. Thanks everybody for hopping on this call so we could review those and get a roundtable. I think in conclusion, I'm just going to say, I don't think anything's intentionally a scam. However, when things go south, they go south. And when they go south, if there's a ton of money involved in a company's wallet, then the rest of the people are going to get screwed. That's it.
Not saying that's
Do your
going to
own
happen,
research.
but it might.
Yeah, here, guys. Thanks so much. This means a lot that that you coordinated this. The Vega, so Serpent X Special Forces, guys. For anybody on my stream that isn't already following him, what are you doing with your life? Like, go follow everybody you see on screen right now. Really, if you're not already subbed, sub to everybody you see in this panel, because they publish independently and they publish high level content. It's totally worth the follow.
Appreciate that. And thank you for
Appreciate
your
it.
knowledge, Seth, and Son of a Tech, and sharing in the stream. I just wanted to get some people together. Me and Son were talking about it offline, and just wanted to get some people together to talk about it a little bit more. Maybe we do a follow-up sometime in the future. So stay tuned to our social feeds and various, Twitters, Instagram, all that stuff, and we'll keep you guys posted.
Yeah, if there's a rug pull, we'll be back.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff that helps out the channel, whether you're watching after or live. And you guys take care of yourselves. We're going to get out of here.
Adios.
Peace.
Recording stopped.
Alrighty.
Wow.
Closing
We
this
should make
out, boys.
Another get together
Before
when
we
the
close it
pool's
down.
actually.
I just wanted to get that out to you guys so that you guys get a full discussion, disclosure. We had somebody that's been pretty vocally out against Chia. You know, we had some people that are just new getting in. We didn't have like a Chia, bull guy that's really hot on it, but you know, I haven't found any in the mining sphere, actually, to be completely honest, on YouTube. I do want to talk to a couple that I've been messaging with that hopefully we'll have them out. I think at the end of the day, like I said, just be really careful with it. Hopefully you can rewatch this and get some information for yourself as far as, you know, what's going on with it, how it works, and what are the I think 3 or 4 big issues with it. So that's pretty much it. And if you guys want more of these, that's cool. Just hit the like, share this type of content out. I was looking at trying to do an around the blockchain type show for crypto, but that'll happen after I move. So if you guys don't know, we're moving houses and I'm moving the farm. The house will be moving on the 12th, so next weekend, and then the farm I'm moving in July. So I have a lot of work going on right now. We're going to be redoing the studios, all that stuff. Thanks to everybody that supported the channel, because that's enabling it. And I'll keep trying to do my best with bringing you guys the content surrounding crypto, at least from a technical perspective, and of course from, I guess, a mining investment perspective, and try to do my best to get the information that I can and relay it to you in the simplest manner possible. So, you know, it is what it is. I'll see you next Tuesday.